Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my performance review of the 361 degrees Big 3 6.0 Pro. So this is the Pro version of the regular Big 3 6.0. This shoe retails for 130 bucks and the Pro retails for 170 bucks, which is a huge price difference. I mean, like, that's a huge price difference, but they are giving us, I guess, better tech. It has a carbon fiber plate, of course, right? This one just had plastic, I believe, and I guess a little bit of an upgraded foam setup, like as far as the foam technology goes, but the regular 6.0 still had really nice cushion, right? And of course the material is different as well. It's upgraded with this really nice knit material. But yeah, if you guys do want to cop either of these shoes, I try to leave in the free link in the description box. If you do choose to get either of these shoes, it does help me out if you buy it through the free link in the description box. And as always, thank you guys so much for all the support. But yeah, let's get it started right off with the traction. So yeah, the traction, of course, they did change up a lot, right? It's pretty much a whole different outsole pattern. And the regular 6.0, once you broke it had really good traction. Did pick up a little bit of dust, but it was still pretty dang good, right? Here in the 6.0 Pro, I did need to break it in just a tiny bit, right? Or maybe it's because when I was first playing, I did play on like the dustier courts, and it's really freaking bad on dust, this shoe, right? But when I was playing on a clean court, it has a really nice bite. When I was playing on an immaculate court though, the court had to be super duper clean, very minimal dust. And then if that was the case, then I had really good stops on this shoe, right? But even when I was playing on like this pretty dang clean courts over at the LA Fitness courts that I go to, because they usually clean the court there, I still had an issue there, you know what I mean? Like, look at all this. I don't know, it's like so dirty. Look at all that dirt and dust and it's just all that gunk, right? It's really hard to freaking wipe off, first of all, right? It's just a herringbone traction pattern. It's multi-directional. And yeah, I thought with this pattern it would be good, but then like, look, even when I try to wipe off all that stuff, it's still like kind of stuck on there, right? I have to really get in there. You can see it getting cleaned off just a tiny bit. So yeah, clean court again, very nice bite, but it has to be super clean. Once there was a little bit of dust, and I still needed to wipe, but then it was a pretty easy wipe, but then not super easy on a slightly dusty court, right? So it was still not good. And then when I went to a really dusty court or like a moderately dusty court, then I just never had a good stop, and it was very inconsistent too, right? Even when I felt like I wiped off all that stuff, and plus the wiping of all that dust from the outsole, it's like really sticky. So I can't really, it's not like even like a slight wipe. I have to really get in there and wipe off all that dust. And then once I did that, even when I was doing like really hard movements, right, lateral movements and stuff like that, it would still like be inconsistent and slide around just a tiny bit. So yeah, it just wasn't amazing, you know what I mean? Like it's a dust magnet, it picks up dust pretty quickly, it's hard to wipe off, and it's affected by dust a good amount, especially on like the moderately dusty courts to like the really dusty courts. So that's a pretty big bummer because yeah, the dust performance is a lot worse than the regular 6.0 as well, you know what I mean? So yeah, it just wasn't the best for traction, and also as far as durability goes, also the durability doesn't seem the best, you know what I mean? Like the grooves are pretty thin, the rubber, I mean, it's not as soft as you would think because the grooves are thin, but it's still pretty soft and pliable. So it doesn't seem like it'll be the best for outdoor use either. So yeah, I guess if you're playing on a super clean court, then you'll like it. But other than that, I definitely don't feel like you'll like it because I didn't really like it too much, and I would prefer like the regular 6.0, which kind of sucks, right? So there is a traction there. Moving on to the heel to toe transition, it feels okay. You know what I mean? First of all, here in the heel, they did cage it up a good amount. Look at all this rubber. Look at all this plastic. So it's not super clunky. It's not super stiff, but it's definitely not as soft as the regular 6.0. You know what I mean? Look at all this cushion here. It's all exposed. It's super smooth, super soft, right? There's a good amount of compression, but here in the 6.0, it's a little bit stiffer. Again, it's not super clunky, but it's a little clunky here in the heel, but there is a nice curve shape. And also here in the forefoot, we got a nice curve shape as well. So the shape is pretty good. And also here in the forefoot, we do have a good amount of forefoot flex, right? But it has really good torsional support because of the carbon fiber plate, right? And it goes pretty far into the forefoot, right? Not all the way into the forefoot, but pretty far into the forefoot. So we do have a pretty springy feel as well with a good like stable rigid feel underfoot. So yeah, overall heel to toe transition is pretty smooth, not the smoothest that you can get, but it's pretty nice. I would say I like the regular 6.0 a little bit better though, you know what I mean? But that also ties into the cushioning setup, right? So as far as the cushioning setup goes, we have two types of foam, right? So here for this yellow foam is Energy X, right? It's on the outside, so it's pretty much like a carrier. And then you can see that the Quick CQ Tech foam here on the medial side, it is exposed, but this is a foam that's pretty much right underneath your foot, right? So how is the cushioning setup? It's pretty underwhelming, right? So I would say it has better core feel than the regular 6.0, right? So the Pro is a little bit better for core feel, but everything else is just not as good, right? So impact protection, not as good. Underfoot cushion, not as good. It's not as soft. But I guess if you want more of a stiffer, more responsive feel, then the Pro is better. But then first of all, I don't know why. I really don't know why. But yeah, I guess first of all, you know, the insole is Ortholite. It's an Ortholite insole. It's kind of nice. And also underneath that, we have a very soft mesh strobo board, right? And the feeling with my fingers is super duper soft. But then when I'm playing, I don't know, maybe it's because the foam is so thin, because the core feel is good, that I just don't feel as much of a compression, right? There's just a tiny bit though. Just a tiny bit, but it's definitely not as much as the regular 6.0, the Kai 2, you know what I mean? The Joker 1. The Liren 5 V2, you know, all those have a very soft underfoot feel because of the soft mesh strobe board. But with this shoe, for some reason, it's just a little bit stiffer of a feel, you know what I mean? And it's weird because also the carbon fiber plate it looks like it's bottom loaded too. So it's not like it's, you know, in the middle of the foam either. So yeah, even in the heel, even in the forefoot, it has more of a stiffer feel. It's still kind of soft. I definitely feel like, you know, if you're heavier, you'll feel it easier than me, but I am average weight and I didn't feel it that easily, you know what I mean? So just a slight bit of compression, kind of soft, and not super bouncy either, you know what I mean? Which is very different from the regular 6.0. It was super soft, super plush, had a little bit of nice little bounce as well. So yeah, I mean, impact protection also isn't the greatest comparing it to, you know, like the 6.0. It's adequate, but it's not amazing, you know? So yeah, I guess if you want more like that stiffer responsive feel, then this is better, and also better core feel. But if you want any type of underfoot cushion, comfort, bounce, you know what I mean, even like heel compression, the Pro is a pretty big downgrade, which kind of sucks, you know what I mean? So there's a cushioning setup there. Moving on to the upper, so the upper quality is way better though, right? The regular 6.0 has this kind of like screen mesh type of material, even though they're saying it's like a knitted material, right? And then here in the Pro, we actually have a knitted material, right? So it's super duper soft, which we'll get into in support, which it was kind of an issue for support, but it's super nice for the quality. It's comfortable, it conforms to your foot extremely well here in the forefoot. One thing to keep in mind, however, look at how dirty the material is though, right? I mean, it's a knit material. Knit materials are gonna get super dirty, especially if you get like a lighter color. So I guess if you want to keep your shoe looking clean, then get like a darker color, but yeah, it does get dirty, so just be careful with that. And then here in the midfoot, we do have this canvas material, which does feel a lot more sturdy, a lot more supportive, which is good, right? The tongue, as far as the material goes, it's like a really cheap felt material, so I'm not a huge fan of that. There's not too much padding either. And it's also half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And also here in the ankle area, I would say it's around average for the padding, right? Not super well padded. Here on the sides, it's more average, and then here in the back of the shoe where your Achilles is, it does get pretty dang plush, especially with this kind of like red material, which is like a one-way rough feeling material. So when you go down, it's smooth. When you come up, it's a little bit rough, right? Which does improve the lockdown. So yeah, the overall quality of the material is super duper nice. It feels very nice on foot. Overall, very minimal feeling as well, but still like sturdy, kind of in the right places in my personal opinion, right? So there is the upper there. Moving on to the fit. So I went true to size and the shoe fits me overall very, very well. However, it does get super freaking roomy here in the toe box. I don't know, it just stretches out a good amount, right? And when I'm like kind of casually walking around, it doesn't feel super roomy. Maybe it's because this knit material just isn't super supportive, you know what I mean? So lengthwise, I'm good, right? So most of you guys, you should be fine going true to size for the length. Also widthwise, it's good for me as well. It's like normal to slightly narrow. So that's all covered, that's all fine, right? But then this material is not super supportive, right? And if you see a lot of companies that do like a knit material here in the toe box, they have like a lot of stiff materials going around the toe box, right? And then they leave it really soft on top, right? But they didn't really do that here in this shoe. So it's super soft here on the sides as well as here on top of your foot. So here in the entire forefoot, it's just a super soft, not super supportive material, right? So even though the fit was pretty snug for my foot, it would still move around a little bit with the lockdown here in the forefoot, you know what I mean? Especially going forward. When I was doing like a hard forward movement, a lot of the times, even when I tied the laces really, really tight, my foot would move forward pretty hard, and then my toe would hit the tip of the toe and it would hurt. You know what I mean? So yeah, it usually doesn't happen to me really ever unless the forefoot lockdown is bad. So yeah, the material here in the toe box just wasn't the greatest for supporting lockdown, right? And now moving on to the lateral containment, the lateral support. Lateral support was pretty good again. However, you know, my forefoot was moving a little bit, you know, especially since this entire forefoot is super duper soft. I can feel the entire material here moving as well, which wasn't the most responsive feeling, you know what I mean? So even though my forefoot isn't coming out of the footbed per se, it just wasn't super supportive here in the forefoot, which kind of sucks. Even for me, for being like average weight, you know what I mean? Here in the midfoot, I'm covered, you know what I mean? You got the canvas material, you got the plastic, and an internal TPU heel counter, so you're fine with that. But just again, the forefoot lockdown just isn't the best. I definitely feel like they should have added a little bit of something. I mean, they did though. I mean, you can see the like rubber here, but it's also not super supportive. You know what I mean? It's like, look at this, super duper soft. So yeah, there is a lateral containment there. The lateral stability was really good though. We do have a very wide base here in the forefoot. And overall lockdown here in the heel was good as well. Like heel lockdown, I had no issues with. So overall support and lockdown was okay. It's just the forefoot, probably because of the material and how soft it is, wasn't the best, right? So there's a support and lockdown there. Moving on to the weight of the shoe. If I remember correctly, it's a little bit lighter than average, right? 11.2 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. 10.95 ounces, so around 11 ounces. That's very, very lightweight. Let's check the 6.0, 11.25 ounces, so pretty much the exact same weight, right? So yeah, it's a really lightweight shoe. It's a very minimal feeling shoe, especially with the great core feel and very thin upper. However, is this shoe responsive? No, I don't really feel quick playing it because first of all, the forefoot lockdown wasn't the best, but also combining that with the really bad performance from the dust, this shoe just, I didn't like it when I was playing on even like a slightly dusty court, right? When I was playing on the super clean court, it's okay, you know what I mean? Especially since the cushion is low to the ground and kind of stiff, so yeah, it was okay, right? So there's that. Moving on to the aesthetics. The aesthetics are really nice. Like some of the colorways also that are coming out looks really good. They're doing a lot of Peppa Pig's colorway, and the Peppa Pig colorways look so good. So yeah, they did a great job with the design. I definitely feel like this looks better than the regular 6.0. And as far as the ventilation goes, ventilation is pretty dang good, especially with the forefoot material. Here over the tongue though, it's not the best, and also through the canvas material, not the best. So it's not the best for ventilation, but it's pretty dang good, especially with the forefoot material. So there's that. And now wrapping things up, yeah, it's a pretty big disappointment, right? So first of all, the price is a little bit of a disappointment. You know, you got a $40 price increase. Second of all, yeah, there's just a good amount of issues, right? If the traction was really good, obviously I would like the shoe a good amount more, but it isn't, right? Which is a huge bummer because a lot of the 361 shoes have really nice traction, you know? Also, the cushion was a huge disappointment too. It's a lot stiffer than I would like, you know what I mean? I wish it was a little bit softer, although some of you might like a stiffer, more responsive feel. And the upper too, like it's a really nice quality too. I was very impressed by it, but then like actually playing in it, the support wasn't the best either. So because of those reasons, I would suggest just getting the regular 6.0. You know what I mean? I didn't have as much issues with the lockdown and also the support. The cushion's better, you know, the traction on dust is better as well. And it's cheaper, you know what I mean? So anyways, that about concludes my performance review of the Big 3 6.0 Pro. Again, if you guys do want to cop either of these shoes, I try to leave in the free link in the description box. But that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.